Welcome to The Explainer. We're about to dive into what is, no exaggeration, the single most important chemical reaction on Earth. This is a process so powerful, it literally creates the air we breathe and the food we eat. Think about this for a second. It's a wild question, right? Our best solar panels, they're great, but storing that electricity, that's the real headache. But plants, oh, they figured this out billions of years ago. So now, scientists are looking right at the humble leaf, thinking, that's it. That's the blueprint for clean, storable fuel. Okay, so if we're ever going to build an artificial leaf, we first have to really get how the real thing works. So here's our game plan. We'll check out nature's perfect solar panel, then the cell's own rechargeable battery. From there, we'll go inside the green machine, break down stage 1, capturing light, and stage 2, building sugar. And finally, we'll tie it all together and see why this matters so much. All right, let's jump right in. Part 1, nature's perfect solar panel. For ages, scientists have been obsessed with this one challenge. How in the world do we copy what plants do? They so perfectly capture the sun's energy and turn it into a stable fuel we can use whenever we want. It's the holy grail of clean energy. And this is the absolute game changer. See, a solar panel, it gives you electricity right now. But a plant creates a sugar molecule. That's a physical packet of energy you can literally save for a rainy day or for the middle of winter. The analogy of a live stream versus a downloadable file is perfect. One is fleeting, the other is yours to keep.
Okay, so before we can really step inside the plant's factory, we've got to talk about the currency it uses. We're not talking dollars or yen here. We're talking about a tiny, incredibly powerful molecule.
And that molecule is ATP. You can just think of ATP as the cell's version of cash. Seriously, it's what pays for almost everything that happens, from flexing a muscle to building new proteins. It's pretty much the universal energy currency for all life on Earth. And the way this works is just genius. It's like a tiny rechargeable battery. You've got EDP. That's the partially charged battery. When the cell gets a jolt of energy, like from sunlight, it just slaps another phosphate group on there. Boom, now it's a fully charged ATP molecule. And to spend that energy, the cell just snaps that bond, releasing a burst of power, and it's back to being ADP, all ready to be recharged again. But here's the catch. ATP is amazing for quick, small bursts of energy, but it's not great for long-term storage. A single sugar molecule glucose stores more than 90 times the energy of a single ATP charge-up. So that's where sugar comes in. Using ATP is like carrying cash in your wallet. Storing energy in glucose, that's like putting your money in a high-yield savings account. It's just way more efficient for the long haul. Okay, so we've got our energy currency, ATP. Now let's finally step onto the factory floor. So where does all this magic actually happen? Well, we're gonna zoom way in, past the leaf, past the plant cell itself, and right into a tiny, microscopic green machine. And this right here is the master recipe for photosynthesis. At its core, it's actually pretty straightforward. A plant grabs 6 molecules of carbon dioxide out of the air, sucks up 6 molecules of water from the ground, adds a dash of sunlight for energy, and what does it get? 1 molecule of sugar, that's its food, and 6 molecules of oxygen, which it just releases. Simple, elegant, and yeah, totally world-changing. The factory itself, it's called a chloroplast. Inside, you've got these little stacks of discs called thylakoids, and they're all just kind of floating around in this fluid called the stroma. Now, you're going to want to remember those two names, thylakoids and stroma, because that's exactly where the 2 main stages of photosynthesis are about to go down. All right, so the whole process basically happens in 2 acts. Act 1, the light-dependent reactions, and yeah, as the name says, this part needs light. It's all about grabbing that raw solar power and packing it into those temporary rechargeable batteries we talked about. We already met ATP, but now we're going to meet its sidekick, a molecule called NADPH. Just think of it as another energy shuttle. So check this out. It's like a tiny assembly line. First, sunlight hits a spot called photosystem 2, which gets an electron all jazzed up. Now, to replace that lost electron, an enzyme literally rips a water molecule apart. And that right there, that's the moment the oxygen we breathe is created. That super-energized electron then gets passed down a chain, kind of like a hot potato, and its energy is used to make our friend ATP. Finally, it gets another jolt of light at photosystem 1, and its remaining energy gets stored in that other battery, NADPH. So by the end of stage 1, we've done it.
The plant has turned light energy into chemical energy. But here's the thing. These ATP and NADPH molecules, they're super powerful, but also really unstable. It's kind of like holding a lit firework, a ton of energy, but it's not going to last. The plant has to lock that energy into something stable, and it has to do it fast.
And that leads us right to the ultimate goal here. How does the plant take all this fleeting, high-octane energy and lock it away for the long term? How does it build that sugar? Well, that's where Act 2 begins. Welcome to Stage 2, the light-independent reactions, but everyone just calls it the Calvin cycle. Now, this part doesn't need sunlight directly. What it needs is the fuel, the ATP and NADPH that was made back in Stage 1. Now the plant is finally ready to build something that's going to last. Remember the stroma, that fluid-filled space inside the chloroplast? That's where the Calvin cycle happens. And its mission is crystal clear. Take carbon dioxide from the air and use the energy from ATP and NADPH to build high-energy sugars. And the way it works is just brilliant. CO2 from the air enters this cycle. Then, using the power from ATP and NADPH, the cycle just rearranges things. It shuffles carbon atoms around and eventually spits out these amazing 3-carbon building blocks. The plant can use those to build sugars, fats, proteins, whatever it needs to grow. And the best part? The rest of the molecules in the cycle just get recycled to start the whole process over again. Get this, though. To make just one 6-carbon sugar molecule like glucose, this whole cycle has to spin 6 times. 6. The plant has to grab 6 separate molecules of CO2 from the atmosphere just to build one molecule of sugar. It's this incredibly precise, efficient factory that turns an invisible gas into the very foundation of pretty much all life. Okay, we've been deep in the weeds with all the microscopic details, so let's zoom all the way back out and look at the big picture. Why does any of this matter? Why is it so crucial to understand this? Well, for one, it's not just a simple on-off switch. The speed of photosynthesis depends on a lot of things. You can see here how plants that love the sun can just keep ramping up their production with more light, but shade plants, they hit their limit much faster. Things like temperature and how much water is around also play a massive role in how well this green engine runs. And here's the bottom line. Our entire existence is built on this one process. Seriously, every bite of food you eat, every single breath you take, it's all thanks to a plant somewhere performing this amazing 2-act play of capturing sunlight and building sugar. It is quite literally the foundation of our entire planet's biosphere. Which brings us right back to where we started. By really, truly understanding every single step, from that first moment water is split to the final creation of a sugar molecule, we get that much closer to answering that big question. Maybe the solution to our biggest energy problems isn't some brand new invention. Maybe it's about finally figuring out how to perfectly copy a design that nature has been perfecting for billions of years, humming away quietly in all of our backyards.